Hey, it's news from heaven today. What angels do in heaven. Are you on the fence? The heaven thing sounds all right, but what's my quality of life gonna be? What are the amenities like in heaven? Let's see, what is angelic life? What is the life of, remember, heaven is this state that we're shooting to achieve in our own minds and hearts. What do you do? But also, like the afterlife stuff with the angels and the spirits and come on, what's going on there? I gotta know. And anything we learn about heaven, as I said, is something we can be learning about ourselves. Everything we know that is done in heaven, we can hopefully emulate so as to let more of that heaven in. Heaven's right out there right now and attempting to give us the goodness and truth that we need to have a happy mind. And getting that link established is what will snap us back into living the life we all feel like human beings deserve, a better life than the one we got for ourselves in the world right now. So, read up on heaven. What angels do in heaven. That title, okay, we plagiarized the title. That's Swedenborg's What Angels Do in Heaven. This is from Heaven and Hell 387. You can download the book yourself for free and follow along. There is no way to list all the functions that people have in the heavens or describe them in detail, though it's possible to say something on the subject in general terms. This is not comprehensive. I didn't say everything angels do in heaven, but that's an important point right away. Because if we're really talking about a description of a real extension of this life that goes on into the afterlife, what if you wrote a book that's called What People Do on Earth? How are you going to, anything like that, a traveler's guide for people who had never been to Earth? Of course it's going to be an approximation, a summary. That angelic life, everything spiritual is more expansive than what we have here. In one number, Swedenborg says, moving from the physical world to the spiritual world is like going from a little village to a great city. I'm not saying there's more population density, but the expansion of life, of what's going on, is there. So, of course, there has to be so much more to do on the spiritual side than on the physical side. I mean, come on. Otherwise, why would you have this world? I don't need to go on about this, but I am. Why would you have this world full of depth and complexity and meaning and potential and then contract for the next level of life? Doesn't seem like that would make it the next level of life. In fact, each community plays a unique role, since the communities differ depending on their virtues. You have people living together, all of which collectively do something constructive for the human race, even playing a unique role just like the different parts of the body do. Okay, so community to community. And these can be, from the way Swedenborg describes it, communities can be just a few people. They can be many, many thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of people. So it's going to be different. No heaven is exactly the same for any two individuals. So of course it's going to matter what community you're in. Therefore, on their function. This is because virtues for everyone in heaven, in the heavens, are virtues in act, which are functions. So you can't separate the good qualities people have, like their kindness or their empathy or their compassion. Go read a near-death experience. When people run into angels, what's it like? I mean, what's the love like coming out of them? For angels, there's no such thing as, I'm just a kind person. The kindness is in action. Everything there is in action, which is why you can look at a community of angels and see it actually as a function. Like this community does. For example, the archangels. Like Michael is an archangel that are mentioned in the Bible. Swedenborg says that that's not just an individual person, that is a function. Like I think Michael is about using the truth to defend people. So the community of angels that we would call playing the Michael function is this. That's what the archangel is. It has to do with function. So really, when you think of communities too in heaven, you don't just think of, okay, this is people and this, they all go to work somewhere, but then they come back here to their little angel houses. Yeah, that's what they look like. And then that's where they just live. The community is always centered around the function. So I don't know exactly what that looks like, but everything about an angelic community is centered around how this community is contributing to the rest of the human race. Like I said, to all the angels, but also trying to make things better for us here on earth. Everyone there does something specifically useful, for the Lord's kingdom is a kingdom of uses. It's actually what differentiates heaven, is that everything there is driven by the desire to do something constructive and helpful. But let's make it really tangible. There are many services in heaven, just as there are on earth, since there are ecclesiastical, civic, and domestic affairs there. So we go from philosophical to, they have something that's analogous to religion there. They do. To spirituality, right? They do. Civic, there's something analogous to government there. They've got to have a way that everything runs. And domestic, they've got households and things. So there are all of those. It's not that we go through and have all these things in this life that we learn and we're trying to figure out how to do these well and then it evaporates. It is, as I said, an expansion of those things in heaven. But the stuff, that's why it's useful engaging in all those things here. You can't just say, well, I'll try to get involved in doing something good for my community here, but it doesn't matter because soon we'll be in heaven where everything will just happen. Stuff there is in some ways, don't worry, it's not as bad as it is here, but it's like it. So the more we hone, that's why Swedenborg, even after he started taking these trips to the spiritual world and started going out, traveling with the angels, one of the last things he ever wrote was some paper on, maybe it was on the monetary system in Sweden. It was something very, very earth, civil affairs focused. So to him, he realized that no, it's just because you know about the spiritual doesn't mean to ditch the way things are running here. That is of utmost importance. The existence of ecclesiastical ones follows from what was presented above about divine worship. If you want to know what's the nature, or what was the nature in 1750s of worship in heaven, go check it out. The existence of civic ones from what was presented about forms of government in heaven. What kind of government do they have in heaven? Go take a look. While the existence of domestic ones follows from the material on angels' homes and houses and on marriages in heaven. You've got references. It's all references. That's the joy of Swedenborg. There's references. We can therefore see that the roles and services in any given heavenly community are multiple. Everything in the heavens is arranged according to the divine design. Okay, this is one of the best sentences in this thing, man. I'll do green. Everything in the heavens is arranged according to the divine design, which is managed everywhere by the oversight of angels. Stop mid-sentence. You've heard of the divine design. We're in the midst of, actually, maybe by the time this comes out, are we going to be done? It doesn't matter. Off the Left, I just did this big series about the divine design, and this is the order that God imprints on the universe. And the reason that heaven is so good is that it's the most, why it's such a wonderful thing to be a part of, why it's all happy, is that it's the most in divine order. You think of that as just like lightning bolting out from God, or just being there the way that physics are just there. It's a command. There are elements that are hands off for people, but here we have divine design is managed everywhere by the oversight of angels. It's through the work on the societal work, the domestic work, the ecclesiastical work that angels are putting in. It's through taking that love and wisdom. The Lord makes a heaven in your mind, but everything in your mind has to be useful. It's through applying that use to the people around you that the divine design emerges. So heaven is heaven. Yes, it's all the Lord doing it, as actually was just written about in like Numbers 7-9 in this book, Heaven and Hell. But it's done through the angels, and to all appearances, it's like heaven structure is maintained by each individual angel contributing to the whole. Managed everywhere by the oversight of angels. So that's why it's important for us to get, the better angels we become, the more the Lord can work the divine design into heaven. I'm telling you, man, we are participating. The wiser ones tending to matters of common good or use, and the less wise to smaller details, and so on. So wiser to the larger common good or use, less wise to smaller details, and so on. And you may say, well, I don't want to be less wise than somebody else. But actually, I think it's not that bad. Swedenborg talks about one aspect of charity is that if you knew there's a job you kind of wanted, but you knew somebody else could do it better than you would want them to have it, because what you want is to function. You know what this is. Just think about how great it is when there's somebody in a position of importance who you feel like, who's doing something that really benefits you or really matters to you, and you feel like, wow, they're doing it better than I could even do it. You really want really smart, really loving, really tuned in people in important positions. So in heaven, having the people who are best suited to the jobs in the jobs, what would that do on earth if we had that? That everybody who was best suited to the position got the position, not because of corruption or whatever else goes on right now. That right there could click a lot of society probably into something a little more divine, orderly. These matters are ranked just as uses are ranked in the divine design. So, and again, rank is not better or worse. It's just how are they structured? The people who are less wise there are still doing the detail, are carrying out the work. And if you didn't have all of us doing that, but this is how everything on earth is organized. You have like one person who's got the blueprints and saying, okay, everybody, I'm managing this, but will you go put those things together? And the people didn't put those things together and do it well, there's no building. So it doesn't matter how many blueprints this person has. It's not a hierarchy in that sense, but it is an order that allows for function, which is exactly what all successful human endeavors are. This also means that importance is attributed to each role in keeping with the importance of its use. Okay? Angels, so there is, right, if you are really important, if you're in charge of something really crucial, it may be that you're acknowledged for that in heaven. That not that people are saying you're so great, but they know the function you're doing is so important that we are gonna, I don't know, give you like a house with a nice view and give you kind of kickbacks and whatever it is. I guess kickbacks has a negative connotation, but we are going to provide you with the means, something analogous to money, right? You don't need money in the same way for necessities of life, but we're going to provide you with the means so that you are set to do your job. And how does that make the angels who are in important positions all puffed up? Angels, however, do not claim any importance for themselves, but describe it all to the use. So that there's this sacred thing. Wow, it's not like, look at me, I'm in a position of importance. This is a really important position. I better try to live up to the things people are entrusting me with. And since the use is the good that it serves, and everything good comes from the Lord, they ascribe it all to the Lord. No ego. No ego. And it's not just no ego that's denying a truth that some people are more talented. It's this knowledge that actually everything good is coming from the Lord. The Lord is the doer here, and we are all trying to participate in that selflessly. And when you do that, you get heaven. Is it worth it? You said you were on the fence. You think about it. This means that if people think about respect for themselves first, and for their use secondarily, instead of for their use first and themselves secondarily, again, you don't got to ditch it. It just can't run the show. They cannot hold any office in heaven because they are looking away from the Lord, putting themselves first and their use second. You want to go into politics in heaven? You better want to be doing good. And you better not be doing it for yourself, or else you just won't get far, because it's obvious to everyone in heaven what your motivations are. So you just can't fake it. To say use is to mean the Lord as well, since just noted use is something good, and good comes from the Lord. It's all about the Lord. The Lord is good, and when we let the Lord occupy the place the Lord should occupy, you get heaven. You don't have to do it. The human race is full of people who say, we don't want to do that, and the Lord makes as happy a life as they can possibly have for them. But when you say, I do want love itself there, and not thinking about the Lord as a person with a personality, sure, God is a human, like we can connect with God, but think about love, putting love centrally, because that's really the essence of God. Putting that centrally, when you do that, and you ascribe everything to the good of love and wisdom, that's when you get heaven. This enables us to determine what rankings in the heavens are like, namely that we love, value, and respect the functionaries the way we love, value, and respect the functions that are associated with them, and also that these functionaries are loved, valued, and respected to the extent that they do not attribute their use to themselves, but to the Lord. Nobody wants to feel like, oh, somebody's just better than me. So if we're putting you in a position where you have more influence than us, it really feels good to hear you say, it's not me, it's the Lord. I'm just a servant like all of you are. You know, That angel in the book of Revelation says that, doesn't he? Like when John is like, oh, and the angel's like, no, I'm just a servant like you. It's such a cool thing to think about. No, it's not credit that we're concerned with. It's not hierarchy. It is, let's do good. And we're all equal in that. Even if there is like order in how we're placed, we're all equal because all of us depend on God for everything good. That is actually, let that settle with you and imagine that world. Solves a lot of problems, man. To me, solves a lot of problems. To that extent, they are wise. And to that extent, they fulfill their uses from good motives, because it's just true. Spiritual love, value, and respect are nothing but love, value, and respect for the use in the role. Respect for the role because of the use and not for the use because of the role. If we look at people from a spiritually true perspective, this is the only way to see them. Then we see one person as, look at this. If you're looking spiritually, we see one person as much like another, whether their rank is great or small. The only difference we see is a difference in wisdom, and wisdom is loving use, which means loving the welfare of our fellow citizens, our community, our country, and the church. So it's everybody's equal. Some people really have that fire burning for love, and so we call that wisdom. But look at that. What's the end game of all this spiritual stuff? We see one person as much like another. We don't think that person is such a superior human being to this other person. And we don't think of ourselves as superior or inferior to other people. Think about how that plays out. How much of the negativity that comes into our mind is about thinking we're inferior to people, or thinking other people are superior or inferior, or thinking we're superior, which initially feels good but brings all these complications with it. How much of the negativity in our mind is from other people thinking that they're superior to us? This whole up or down phenomenon is erased by the truth. When the truth is that we see people one much like another, but just know we can all play an individual role to create heaven, that is what leads to peace. And that is what leads to cooperation. And cooperation is heaven. And that's the potential for human beings. We don't got to wait for heaven. We can do it right now. So let's do it. Hey man, let's enter a friendly competition with heaven. See who can do the divine design better. That's the news from heaven. Thanks for watching. Leave comments. Let me know how this affects you and how you use it in your daily life. Also, please support us. Go to otle.cosvox.com. It's only through your contributions that programming like this is going to exist on the web. Thanks to everyone who is supporting. We have our match going right now, so your contributions will be doubled in impact to Off the Left Eye. Thanks, everybody. Hope you found something cool in this, as I did, and it's just great to get to spend this time with you. Talk to you soon.